Welcome back to the Veteran Teacher Files. I'm your host, the Dragon Lady. And today, I need to tell you about the time I had everything I ever wanted sitting right in front of me. And I smiled until I left. Alright, so a little background. I have a job. I want to say that clearly because what I'm about to tell you requires some context. I have a job. I am employed. I am not in crisis. And I am still applying for other jobs. Because here's something nobody really talks about enough in education. Sometimes you have a perfectly fine job, and there's still a position out there that just feels less like a career move and more like something you were supposed to do. So anyways, this is about one of those positions and what happened when I finally got the chance to go for it. So I need to take you back to the beginning, to the school that started everything, way back, because this story doesn't start with the job posting. It starts with Little Dragon Lady and when I attended elementary school, a school that genuinely changed the direction of my life. I was very lucky to attend an exceptional elementary school, and I don't mean that casually. I mean the kind of school where something happens to you, where you leave different than when you arrived, where people plant seeds in you that you didn't even recognize until years later when something starts growing and you think, oh, that's where that came from. So yeah, that school planted the college seed in me. And a big part of that was my 6th grade teacher. She was the kind of teacher you carry with you. She's sharp, she's warm, and she has this way of making you feel like your potential was not a question, just a matter of time. And I was in her very first class. And she didn't just shape who I became as a person. She's part of the reason I became a teacher at all. So, over the years, we stayed in touch. And she became a friend, a mentor. One of those people you check in with, not because you have to, but because she made you a better person just by being in contact with her. So, over the years, I also stayed in contact with the school itself. Eventually, I became one of the financial sponsors for a scholarship program they run, which meant I attended fundraisers and I got to know the principal. He and I developed a friendship over the years. The kind of where, you greet each other warmly, you catch up, and you genuinely feel glad to see each other. We weren't like texting each other, that kind of friend, but we'd become like Facebook friends. So I had history with this school. I had roots there. I had a relationship with the principal and a decades-long friendship with the teacher whose classroom I once sat in as a kid. And then, one year at the scholarship fundraiser, both of them came walking towards me, grinning. You know that grin, that smile that tells you something is happening? Because my 6th grade teacher was retiring, and they both wanted me to apply for her position. So, I want you to understand what this felt like. This wasn't just a job posting I found on EdJoin. This was the school that made me who I am, handing me the keys and saying, come back, we want you. The teacher who helped shape me into an educator was passing on her torch, and they wanted me to be the one to catch it. I said yes, totally. Yes, of course I'll interview. And then I went home, and I did what any completely rational adult would do. I bought a new outfit, and I started to mentally prepare for my return back to my hometown. I even started looking up cat patios because, of course, the next logical step after being interviewed would be to figure out an outdoor enclosure for my cats. Duh. For the city that I don't even live in yet, for the job I don't have yet. So, I was getting just a little bit ahead of myself. So, the day of the interview, I get in my car and I take the drive. It's about an hour away from where I currently live. And the whole drive, I'm ready. I'm pumped. I got, so many years of teaching experience. I have a real relationship with the principal. I have a deep genuine roots with the school, as a student, as a sponsor, as someone whose entire career path has been shaped within those walls. And I walked into that interview strutting. I had my new outfit on, I had my heels on, and I had a ponytail full of confidence. Now, I know I've mentioned this to you before, but I'm gonna mention it again. I am a terrible interviewee. I'm not lying. I'm not a mediocre interviewee. I'm not even like a little nervous and I pull it together. I am genuinely, historically, reliably a terrible interviewee. So my coworkers knew this. I had warned them and they didn't believe me. So I'll get to that in a moment. But first, let's talk about the interview. So here I am again, coming out of my car, strutting with my heels, got my ponytail, got my little briefcase with me. And I wait for a few minutes until they escort me back to the little interview room. And there's the principal, and I think there's 2 other women. So a very small panel, like 3 or 4 people on the panel. Very small. The interview lasted 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Which is honestly impressive because I managed to fill an entire 10 minutes with almost no unusable information. This is how my interview went. I come in, I sit down, they all tell me their names and their positions, and they say, "Okay, Dragon Lady, tell us about yourself." And I sat there, I flashed a 400-watt smile and was like, "Yes, I teach. For a long time. I teach. I like kids." That's pretty much what I said. I'm not even kidding. When they asked me about curriculum, I really don't know what my answer was, but I probably said something like, "Yeah, I use it. I like it. Curriculum good. Yes." Like, I'm not kidding you guys. My mind goes blank. So at some point, I know he asked me my English learner experience, which is like the moment I've been waiting for. Like my whole career is built up on this, my experience as an English learner. Because I've worked extensively with ELs. I'm an EL myself. I have years of training. I have strategies. I got data stories. I've worked in dual immersion. I got results. This is my moment to shine. There I was. I was supposed to just, knock it out of the park with this one. See, I like EL students. Oh my gosh, you guys. I had nothing. They would ask me "What curriculum do you use?" And I'm like, "The one they give me." So tell us about a difficult parent you dealt with. Yes, it was hard. Tell us about your classroom management. I do it pretty well. Every question they asked me, I just sat there, smiled, bobbed my head, and didn't answer. So 10 minutes later, I walked to my car and I sat there for a moment. I didn't have anyone to call, so I just started driving. And for a few minutes, I think my brain was still kind of processing. And then it caught up to what just had happened. And somewhere on that freeway, I'm not exactly sure where it hit me. And it was like, snap. I can't drink a beer and drive, but I guess I'll have to have a Starbucks because I just realized what I had done. So there I am. I sat with my drink and I thought about what I had just done. See, I like them. I like ELs. Oh yeah. Curriculum. Yes, I use it. I'd driven a whole hour. I'd bought a new outfit. A pretty expensive outfit, and I had that ponytail working. And I just sat there and was like, "Yes, school, I like it, I teach, yes, me, I want the job, me, yes, me, hi, I'm nice, yes, nice, me, teacher, nice, job, yes, happy, yes." So when I got back to work, to my coworkers, and they were waiting. They knew I had applied. They knew my history with the school. They had fully expected me to walk in and be like, "Boom, I got the job, no worries." But I had warned them. I had said, something happens to me in interviews. I become a different person. It's not nerves exactly. It's more like a full neurological event. They didn't believe me. So I pulled up a video. Now, if you've ever watched SNL, Saturday Night Live, there's this portion called the Weekend Update, and you might be familiar with a recurring character named Dawn Lazarus. And she's a weather reporter played by Vanessa Bayer. And what makes Dawn Lazarus special is not that she doesn't know what she's doing. It's that she knows what she's doing and she delivers it with this absolutely unshakable confidence. She smiles, she nods, and she says complete nonsense with the energy of someone who has never once in her life doubted herself. I showed my coworkers that clip. I said, "This is me in that interview room." They watched it, they looked at me, and they believed me. Now, here's where the story gets a second act. About 3 years after that interview, COVID hit. And like a lot of people, I reconnected with some old friends during that time. And one of them was a woman I had gone to college with. We hadn't talked in years, but we found each other again during the pandemic, the way people had been. And we were catching up, doing the, what have you been up to? What are you doing? And she mentioned to me that she had worked for a couple years at that school. My school, the school. So I told her, like, oh, wow, I attended that school as a kid. So she's like, oh, okay. And then she goes on to tell me about this story that had been circulating amongst the staff about an interview, a truly spectacular interview. She told me that the candidate who had come in smiled the entire time and answered questions with responses so thin they had become something of a legend. She didn't know it was me. She had been telling this story, my story, for like 3 years to people as an example. And then I had to tell her that the story she was telling was about me. She had been telling the story for years to people as an example of what not to do. So then I told her, it's me. I'm the legend. And first she laughed. She was like, no. And then she was silent. She's like, oh my gosh. And she wasn't laughing anymore. She was mortified on my behalf, which is fine. So needless to say, I didn't get that job. And honestly, looking back, I 100% understand because I wouldn't have hired myself either. But that's okay. I gave that principal nothing to work with, and yet I still love that school. So it's okay. I've had other interviews since then, and I know myself. So I do try to bring notes. I do try to practice out loud in the car. And I'm sure that I will have, even though I practice, I'm sure that I'm going to have another experience with a question where my brain just completely blanks out and exits the building before I have a chance to really think. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But for today, I want to know about one of your dream opportunities in education. Did you ever self-destruct in the moment that mattered the most? What happened? Did you get another shot? Drop it in the comments. I need to know I'm not alone. And if you enjoyed today's episode of the Veteran Teacher Files, please follow, subscribe, and share it with a fellow educator who has also at some point delivered a truly inexplicably bad interview with a confident smile. I'm the Dragon Lady. See, I teach kids, and I'll see you next time.